أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا هديناه السبيل إما شاكرا وإما كفورا. Surely we have guided him to the way. Guided him, her, to the way. He's either grateful or ungrateful. We've been talking in terms of the series we've been following. From Allah to the Prophet, to Imam Ali alayhi salam, to Imam Hassan, to Imam Hussein. And then we delved into how we can start to learn from Karbala. How do you make decisions in Karbala? We said that there's a path between us and the gate, and that path is Allah's rules and regulations. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. We say this every day. Siratal ladina an'amta alayhim. Who are these people? There's a group. أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول وأولي الأمر منكم. Who is that person? Who is that group? So it always talks about there is something after the Prophet. Now that gate that you choose, if you're a Christian brother, you're a Jewish brother, you're someone who is in that state. There's a lot of Orthodox Jews that literally have their own path. Now on that level, what happens when you choose a gate? You have to choose a gate. That gate has to take you towards something bigger, has to give you a cause, has to give you an understanding of the three questions. Where did I come from? Where am I going? And where am I at in between? Any young person, we said the first day, has to answer these questions. I'm sorry, every young person, 5, 6, 7 years old, they'll start to ask you, Baba, Mama, where did we come from? Why did Allah create us? And we talked about, don't give them just an answer, or don't just nullify the question. We said support it, be intrigued by it, reinforce it. Very important concepts. So now, if I were to ask one of my young brothers or sisters, and if I had them come up here, and you ask them, would they know how to prove Allah? Would they know that there's something greater than them? We should start very young. I will talk about community, inshallah, in the following nights. But now, on this level, we have shown him the way. We've shown him the path. He's either grateful or ungrateful. What happens when we are ungrateful? Or we make a mistake? Does the ego get in the way and stop us from saying, I'm responsible for that mistake? What happens on that level? How do you go to the inside and really adjust yourself to stay on the path? The path is one way. There's no going back. You're on the highway, and you have an exit. And one day it's coming, whether you like it or not. So your job is to mold this heart to be submissive to a greater cause than you. That's your job. Otherwise, you're submitting to your own temptations. Now what happens when our temptations call us? The world calls us. Superiority, status, money. The world's going to call you. Let's say if you make a mistake, you can't admit to that mistake. What happens? So now, as Imam Hussein alayhi salam was traveling from Mecca to Kufa, because now he's answering who? Muslim ibn Aqil. He's answering the letter. And he's now coming So he tells, again, the people, he tells them, who wants to go with me? So imagine right now, the gate of Allah comes to some of us here, says, who wants to go with me? Who's ready? Are you ready to go? Leave your kids behind, leave your wife behind, leave your husband behind. Are you ready to go? Is your heart that submissive? Or, it's okay. Some people are actually like that. Not all the companions passed away, by the way. Not all of them passed away. Like there's someone named Dhahak. He told Imam Hussein, he said to him, listen, when and if this happens, or if this happens, and you are all alone, and you got no one to aid you, guess what? Salaam alaikum. I'm gone.
I hate you.
And he lived up to his promise. And he said at that moment, he actually left. He left Imam Hussein. So it was an opportunity. It was opportunity to gain. It's an opportunity to gain what?
I'm gonna go there.
What happens when you choose the hereafter versus the now? وَالضُّحَى وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى مَا وَدَّعَكَ رَبُّكَ وَمَا قَلَى وَلَلْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ لَكَ مِنَ الْأُولَى. Surely, the latter is a better place for you than the now. It was an opportunity to choose what? Freedom. What is freedom in the heart? What is it when you are free? How are you free? You're free when you suspend the world from your heart. The temporal world is no longer what? A prison. You actually hold it as a prisoner. Imam Ali alayhi salam will stroke his beard and say what? I've divorced you what? 3 times. When you divorce in Islam 3 times, can you come back? Look at the expressions of Imam Ali alayhi salam. One way. It's a one-way road. You're either collecting and you're setting up properly, or what? You're regressing. The world's going to come at you. And it's going to ask you, you want to come with me? Or the Imam is standing right there and he says, come to me. Come with me. But is the Imam forcing you? Is he telling you, you need to go? This is your opportunity. You should come now? No. This is a decision that is free. It's free. It's from you. You have to make that decision. So every second you're making a decision. And when I'm actually coaching or I'm doing these things, every small decision you make, it quantifies. And the decisions you make, either they're laying down more work track in the future so you can go faster, or you're just putting the brick. Every decision is a brick on the wall you're going to hit. We said yesterday, the khiyana, the one who deceives. You can climb to the top through deception. Try to stay there. Try. Look at Muawiyah now versus Imam Hussein. Try to stay at the top. Try to stay at the top. You can't. You won't be able to. Through deception, Allah says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَهْدِي كِيَادَ الْخَائِنِينَ. The ones who plot. They plot, they maneuver, they think they're what? They think they're doing the right thing. But they're plotting. They're setting up other people. But Allah says, that's not going to happen. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْخَائِنِينَ. We said this yesterday. So watch when you maneuver, when you make a decision, understand what you're doing. Every decision is being quantified. Every moment you can lose your life. And imagine that last decision you make. Decision making is not an easy thing. It's not. And it's amazing how we make decisions. What Allah has given you. The power to make a decision. In the Quran it says, when you're in front of Allah on that day, it says, وَهَلَكَ عَنِّي سُلْطَانِيَ. Your free will is taken away from you. You can't make decisions anymore in that moment. Right now, you can choose. You can choose to get up. You can choose to leave. You can choose to stay. You can do whatever you want. Every decision is adding something to your heart. And there's no going back. There's no going back. So Imam Hussein in these nights, he's traveling. And as he's traveling, he asks the people. Some of them what? Turned away. The opportunity is missed. It's gone. So now, some of them, they what? Continue with the Imam. Now they're going from Mecca to what? Kufa. Imam Hussein, in the middle of his journey, he's met by a messenger, or not a messenger. He's met people they're coming from Kufa, and they let him know what just happened to Muslim ibn Aqil wa Habib. They let him know what just happened. So now Imam Hussein alayhi salam knows what's going on in what? Kufa. But he continues. So that tells you something. Imam Hussein didn't care who's rising, who's Yazid, who's Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad. He doesn't care. He's rising because he has a mission. And his mission is to uphold what? Truth. To hold the path that me and you walk on today. We owe that to him. Because if he didn't rise, we wouldn't even see the gate anymore. That gate would have been gone. So it's through him that gate is still open. For you, for me, for everyone else in humanity. And the gate is always what? Is it closed or is it open? It's always open. Allah's gate is always open, but it has to go through them. أنا مدينة العلم وعلي بابها. And whoever wishes to go through get to the city, they should go through what? Its gate. So Imam Hussein alayhi salam is the gate towards Allah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So now, Imam Hussein's traveling. He knows, but Imam Hussein's got a mission. Imam Hussein is a lion. He's not someone who's going to waver. He's not going to when the principle is called out by the challenge, Imam Hussein is loyal to his principles. So when you're called out by a challenge, stay loyal to your own principles. Don't maneuver around the principle. Don't tell yourself, it's okay, I'll do this tomorrow. Don't tell yourself, it's okay, you know what, I just did this a little bit. Don't do that. And we said the first thing that you need to learn is what? What was Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? What was his two main names? The Sadiqul Ameen. So have this, be truthful. Try to do that. Try not to tell a lie. And we said yesterday what happens when you tell lies and when you have deceit in your heart and you have malice and you can get to these positions. Watch what happens to your life and how you destroy other people. People like that, they destroy relationships. They go after relationships. And the way they maneuver is incredible. I deal with this stuff all the time. And with people like that, I promise you, with me, I have no mercy. I have no mercy for someone who has deceit. And if I see it, I'm coming after you. I don't care who you are. But why? Because you have to stand. And I'm going to give you a hadith by Imam Ali that's implemented by Imam Hussein, that's implemented by Zainab, but in the later nights, inshallah. And watch how the family runs the gate and runs the road to the gate. That's how it works. So now, Imam Hussein is still riding. Then he's met by an army of Hur Riyahi, Ibn Ziyad al-Riyahi. And they come face to face. So now, again, the challenge is right at your doorstep. The gate of Allah versus what? The messenger of Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad. That was Hur. And he was coming. So now, they come together. When they come together at that moment, what happens to your heart? Is the world calling you? Right now you may think even these small little majalis or these little things, or the people that are here, they're a little extreme. They don't understand the world. Something's going to happen. They don't know how to live. You may think that way. No problem. But at the end of the day, trust me in what we have. Try to touch it emotionally. Try to get these emotions from something else. Try. Look at the world now. How much anxiety. 1 out of 4 women now in the United States is what? Anti-what? Depressant pills. 1 out of 4. Why? Why? Ask yourself why. Because this land, Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Because here is about material. This is ran through material, not spiritual. And I'm sorry, some of us, we've taken to this narrative. Business superior over family. Business superior over spirituality. Business superior over community. Business superior over my personal relationships. I'm sorry, that's not the way it works. And I'm sorry, my sisters, the world is also feeding you a certain narrative. Leave the house, you're going to become what? A housewife? No way. Mother? That's the old days. Old days. You're going to become a mother? What are you going to have 10 children and just raise kids? My mother had a PhD in raising kids. That was my mother. That's a mother. So don't get fooled by society's norms and conditions. And don't be fed a narrative. Don't. And for my brothers, hold on to your principles. When you're doing what you need to do and you need to provide, hold on to those principles. Don't look left. Left, see? I'm talking to the sister. Don't look left. Don't look right. Don't do that stuff. Don't. Adhere. Make those decisions right. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, he says, he says, غُضُّوا أَبْصَارَكُمْ تَرَوْنَ الْعَجَائِبَ. Lower your gaze and you will have insight. SubhanAllah, when you begin to tell yourself what? No, I'm not going to do that. Decision making is not an easy thing. It's constant. Every second you're making a decision. There's a choice. So now, Hur gets off his horse, sees it's Imam Hussein alayhi salam. They come together. Hur sits down with Imam Hussein. They have a conversation. Hur lets him know what he's there for. He says to Imam Hussein, I'm here to take you to who? Ubaydullah, to Ibn Ziyad. Imam says, Wayhak, woe unto you. You don't know what you're doing. Look at the decisions. Decisions all around you. He says, Imam Hussein says, I'm not going. I'm not going to force you. First decision to follow the truth. First decision happened right there. Then Hur. Also then what does what? It's time to pray. What does he do? He prays behind who? He prays behind Imam Hussein. Look at the submission. He's submitting. His heart is submitting slowly. Another decision. Look at the building process. First decision, I'm not going to force you. He knows something is not right. His heart is telling him there's something wrong with this situation. So now, he makes another decision. And he actually prays behind Imam Hussein alayhi salam. When he does that, another decision to what? His freedom. Not to what? The world. His freedom. Your freedom is inside your heart. It's inside your heart. You want to be free? Let go. Drop outcomes. Drop control. Rely on who? Allah Azza wa Jal. Know that the gate is open. look at the gate and say, I'm coming. I'm coming. And there's no way I'm going to get off this road. I'm right here and I'm coming. And let the world try to knock me off. Try. Come at me. And watch my principles. And watch how I rise. And I'm not going to submit. Whatever you try to get me to do, it's not going to happen. Why? Because my heart is strong. And I'm willing to stay the path. That no matter how you come at me, it doesn't matter. My path, I see the gate. And I want that gate. So now, what happens when you're making decisions? When you're making a decision, what happens in your mind? How does decision making work in the mind? In your brain, there's different regions of the brain that are actually activated. When it's something personal and it's to you, there's a region in your brain, it's called the dorsolateral. Dorsal, high, lateral, outside. Part of your brain that actually activates. You know what's that in charge of? That's in charge of pros and cons, evaluation. It's cognitive control. You begin to assess the situation. I want you to think of this when Har has to make that decision. Think of that evaluation and what he says. How does he evaluate? There's another part of your brain. It's called the amygdala. The amygdala is the fear center of the brain. That's in charge of your fight or flight system. That's connected to your hypothalamus. That hypothalamus is like the thermostat in your body. What happens there? Let's say you get triggered by something, fear. We said it's about staying calm, right? What happens when you get triggered by fear? That activates. That hypothalamus, what happens there? That's all automatic. It turns on what? Your sympathetic nervous system. Your sympathetic nervous system is part of your autonomic nervous system. Auto, meaning what? You think it's asking you for your permission? It's not happening. It's not. This all happens subconsciously. You have no control over that. And some of us, when the Imam calls, that part of your brain is going to activate. And the fear is going to hit your heart. That's what's going to happen. I guarantee you. But only some of us are going to stay on the path. Only some of us are going to get tested to that level that you evaluate. And that part of your thinking brain turns on. And you say, this is Imam Hussein alayhi salam. How could I leave? How? What would allow you to even leave if you truly see the gate? And if you truly see what's behind the gate, which is a city that's connected to who? Directly to Allah Azza wa Jal. How could you leave that opportunity? How? How could you leave that? Some people did. And don't think you won't either. If you don't work on this, every single decision that you make, don't think that when the time comes, Imam, I love you, come here. What? Me? Wissam, I'm here. You think you're going to do that? The Imam's going to tell you, okay, go in the battle. Oh, I'm sorry. What? What did you say? Go in the battle? What? Me? I got 2 kids. I got a business. I got a million other things going on in life. I can't let this go. It's not easy to make that decision if you haven't trained yourself on decision making. If you haven't told the self no enough times, trust me, you're going to tell Imam Hussein no. You're going to tell the Imam that's coming, you're also going to tell him no. So if you want to train, I got something for you. You want to train yourself? Here we go. Every day, we said before, try to get to 50 no's a day. Every single day. And you want to take it a little further? Write down what you say no to. On your phone, make a checklist. Say, you know what? I'm going to say no to, try this. I've had someone do it for a whole year. 1 whole year. And they're not what? They're one of my clients. Do you think they're Muslim? They're not Muslim. They're Christian. And they did it. They did it. So don't tell me you can't do it. You have the best faith. We stand, why? Because we have the best road, and we have the best gate, and we have the best city. Why can't we do stuff like that? Why can't we work on ourselves to that extent? Why? So now, they meet. The armies meet. And the caller now has called. Imam Hussein is not backing down. So decision making. Now, you're looking across the field. You're with Imam Hussein alayhi salam. They go through negotiation for about 7 days. They negotiate back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad sends who? Sends Shimr. He sends him with a letter because the negotiations were going on way too long. So now what happens? Shimr gets over there. And in the letter that it contained, it says, we don't want you to negotiate. What do we want you to do? We want you to go into battle. And if they don't submit and pay allegiance to who? Yazid. Then what? Kill them. That now is what? Black and white. There's no more choice. Either submit your principles, what you stand for, the whole road that you're walking upon, or what? Or die. Submit that, or you're going to die. Can you make that kind of decision? What does Imam Hussein alayhi salam before battle, what does he do? He calls all the companions. It's all about freedom of choice. You have to make decisions every single day. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he's telling you to be what? Free. He's telling you to be free from what? Don't get hooked by this world. Don't get hooked by it. وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا مَتَاعُ الْغُرُورِ. Surely this world is a place of deception. Don't get fooled. Don't. We had a brother that passed away yesterday. You don't think that might be you? Imam Ali alayhi salam tells us, I fear for you two things. اتباع الهوى وطول الأمل. That you follow desires and you think you're going to live a long time. So now the caller is called. And they're at what? They're in battle. Now, Har is where? Where does he find himself? Where does Har find himself? Which side? Which side does he find himself on? He finds himself on the wrong side. Decisions, decisions, decisions. Imagine your whole life. You go through that and you figured out that you picked the wrong what? Gate. You picked the wrong gate. Imagine, every decision you've made, you find out that you're standing what? In Muawiyah's camp, in Yazid's camp. You're not Imam Hussein's camp. And I'm sorry, some of us right now, we're here. As soon as we leave, we go into what? A different camp. I'm not going to mention that. But that's what we do. Because the world is what? It's calling us. We think we're going to live forever. Our business is way too important. Our phone is way too important. Our what? The world is way too important. So as we began, إِنَّا هَدَيْنَاهُ السَّبِيلِ. We've shown you the way. The road is clear. You're either grateful or ungrateful. So now, Har has to make that decision. I want you to put yourself in this position. Please, just go into the mind of Har. Go into the mind. And now, he's sitting on his horse. Imagine this. Now you're sitting on your horse. And now you see what? Imam Hussein, he starts to call. He says, is there anyone that would avenge us? Is there a person? Is there someone? What is he calling for? You think Imam Hussein doesn't know who he is? You think he doesn't know where he's going? He's giving you the opportunity. Just like what now? You have an opportunity. All of us have an opportunity. We're here, we gather. Why? Why do we gather? These little kids right here. This is the next generation. You better do your job. You better do your job. You better do that. Because if you don't, what's going to happen? I'm telling you, the world is buying real estate in their mind faster than you can download the information. Understand that. That phone that you're giving them each day, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't. You just got to be careful. We're here to protect that. So they can stay also on what? On the road. So we don't lose that. And to these centers and these places, please, we have our differences. We have situations. But please support each other. Help each other. Help each other. Hold on to the rope of Allah, what? Together. Support with your time. Support with your money. Support with whatever you can. Support. Support. I'm telling you, if it wasn't for one of these places, I wouldn't be up here. I wouldn't. This is what gave me the opportunity. And now I'm standing in front of you. I was just like everyone else. I was what? Just walking. Didn't know which gate I was walking to. But now I'm standing in front of you. And I'm talking about the gate. So now Hur has to make that decision. Which part of his brain do you think activated? Hur says, he's standing and he says, do you not hear what Imam Hussein, he's talking to his companion. He says, do you not hear what Imam Hussein is saying? He says, do you not hear him? Do you not see what he's saying? Do you not hear his call? And the person answered him, he goes, why do I see you perplexed? Why do I see you in this state? I've never seen you like this before. If I were to be asked if there's a more courageous warrior than you in this land, I would never accept that. I would say it's you. So imagine Hur and his heart, his capability to be what? To be a warrior. Not to stand down. But is it difficult to stand down to the truth? And suspend your ego? Now what does he have to leave? He has to leave the worldly gate. To what? Enter a different gate. You have to do that. Once you're making that decision, you think it's easy to leave the world? Because you have to leave it behind. So now, what does he say? Hur states, and he says his famous line. What does he say? He says, he asks him, he says, why are you like this? He says, I am choosing between what? بين الجنة والنار. I'm literally imagine making that decision. You think that weight is easy? And now when that happens, now he's going back and forth in his mind. Think about the decision. If he goes across, he knows he's going to die. He knows that. But can you stand in the face of truth and say, you know what? I'm going to go against that? He couldn't. Can you make that kind of decision? Where you're looking at death and it's looking right back at you and it's saying to you, I'm coming for you. Can you do that? A lot of us say we can. I'm telling you, that's not an easy decision. Now listen to this, please, and I'm almost done. Between Hur, the back of his heel, and his horse. Just imagine this, please, just for a second. His heel, the back of his heel, and his horse, how far is that distance? Give me a number. How far? How far do you think that is? What's that? Couple inches. 5 inches. 6 inches. Think of that distance mentally. How hard that emotion is to bring up to the front of your heart and to have the courage to make it. You think that's easy to do? That's miles in terms of mental awareness, ability to calm the heart, to face what? Reality. And tell yourself what you need to what? Do. So imagine the second. Think of just this, please. Imagine the second. He kicks his horse. That moment is the moment of your freedom. That's your soul coming alive. That's you choosing what? That gate or that gate. Every decision you make in this world, you're choosing that gate or that gate. Understand that. So now when that happens, just imagine you're on that horse and you made that decision. Imagine what's in your heart. Imagine how you feel and you let go. Imagine the freedom that's in your heart. You drop the outcome. I'm relying on Allah because I see what? The city and I see its gate and I'm heading towards what? I'm heading towards the gate. Imagine what you feel in your heart. So now he gets in front of Imam Hussein. He gets off his horse. And Lily gets on his knees. And he says, do you forgive me? Think about that. Imagine how much you have to humble yourself. You have to bring the ego and just completely suspend it. Imam Hussein grabs him. He says, what? Your mother was truthful when she called you what? Har. Because you're free. So in Har, what does he do? He says, please, let me be amongst your first followers to go into battle. Now, Har's cause is worth more than his life. You have to have your cause be worth more than your life so you can go under that banner. And then what? Har gets hit. When he gets hit, he calls out to Imam Hussein. And he says, Assalamu alayka Abdullah. On that level and in that moment, what's in your heart? So Imam Hussein comes to him. And now he's laying in Imam Hussein's lap. Imagine now you've gotten to the gate. And Imam Hussein has pulled you into the gate. And he's pulled you into the city. And he says, now rise. Rise to the highest levels. Because he says what? He says, Sadaqa ummuka. Sadaqat ummuka. And sammatuka wa har. Anta. He says, Anta. Hurrun fi dunya wa sa'idun fil akhirah. You are free in this world. And you're what? You're happy in the hereafter. Please make decisions. Make decisions that are proper. So you can get to that moment. Don't find yourself on the other side. Har reminds me of me every day. Because I'm afraid. I'm afraid that one day I'm going to find myself on the other side. And I won't even know it. I won't even know that I'm there. So please, protect these kids. By protecting your own actions first. Protect that first. When you do that, you've got the world. And you've got what? The hereafter. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.